Welcome to the Not Hipster, Not Classic podcast. I'm Cole.
My name is Aiden,
He's also the mayor of Flavortown. For
the mayor of Flavortown.
folks that are just coming on to this, we wanted to do a podcast a couple months ago, and there was a couple people who really liked it when we did a live stream last time. So this time, we're not doing a live stream, and we're not together for this podcast. We're apart because of social distancing. God, let's not mention any coronavirus-based humor.
yeah, obviously.
That's cheap. Yeah. So we're going to do a game today to help you guys get to know us a little bit better. We're going to do 3 stories each, and only one of the stories is going to be true. Most of our stories are true to an extent. All of our stories are seeded with many lies. So we're going to be picking out the most truthful or the true story out of our 3 stories. So, Aiden, start us off. You told me you have an excellent story about work, supposedly about work.
Sure do. So, I work in a fast food restaurant. Just for a little backstory, so it doesn't sound like I'm just speaking out of nowhere. Not too long ago, a guy comes to the drive-through of this fast food restaurant, and he, orders a fairly long order. And he comes up to the window, and he is around 95 years old. And this guy, he was a very crusty old guy, and this was about lunch rush, so it was about 1 or 2 o'clock, like 12 to 2 o'clock, and this crusty old guy was talking to me in the drive-through line for a total of 15 minutes. And I tried to get him gone for 15 minutes, but he kept telling me stories through the window.
All right. So, that sounds like an interesting story.
It was the most interesting thing I could think of, honestly. I'm not a very interesting person.
Okay. I can see how parts of that story could be true.
Mm-hmm.
I could see how parts of it could be false. I think you went really light on the first story. So I'm going to tell a story, and I'm not going to try to go too over the top because, this could be true. Could be false.
It could be true, it could be false.
Okay. So for my story, I was 7 years old. We had just moved into our house here, and my dad had put in a wood boiler to heat our house during the wintertime. And I went out one morning. It was actually my parents' anniversary, and I thought, I am going to fill this wood boiler up with wood. So my dad didn't have to do it. So I ran outside. I start putting stuff in, and my dad had some fire starter logs that I thought were just free game. I thought, oh, it's a log. I'll throw it in the fire. 7-year-old me's like, let's do this. Let's put this thing in there. But there was already a pretty raging fire in the boiler. It was so hot, it was steaming, it was evaporating the water on the inside to where there was a draft inside the system that brings water inside the house. Not good. Dad was not happy. But what made this story excellent was whenever I put 4 fire starter logs inside the boiler. I had to check it in about 20 minutes to make sure that those logs were on fire, as was our usual. Normal logs don't catch all the time, so you have to scoop some coals up, throw it on top, let it burn. Well, I was barely tall enough to open the door. In fact, my face was right at about the bottom of the boiler. I had to grab a stepladder to open the door, and I decided that I would jump up, grab the boiler door handle and open it up. And whenever I did, the draft from the fire on the inside went into my face and burned off about that much of my hair, my eyebrows, and burned my ears so red that whenever I went back inside, my mom was fairly angry. But what sums this story up is the next day was picture day. So I had to take my 7-year-old school picture with no eyebrows and receding bald man hair.
That's a pretty good story. It's a pretty good story. Unfortunately, it may be a fabrication. Maybe a fabrication.
All right. Well, I want to hear your story. Your next story.
My next story. All right, this one's a doozy, so you better be ready for it. I a couple of when I was about 12 years old, going along with the theme of young children mishaps. When I was about 12 years old, I I uh, I decided that I was going to walk outside and I was going to blow something up. Um, so my father, he has the ability to get all kinds of dangerous chemicals and stuff that
As every 12-year-old or father with a 12-year-old should have, right?
yeah
Just basic.
something that some 12-year-olds shouldn't possibly have their hands on. So little 12-year-old me, without my father's supervision, decides he's gonna go outside. He's gonna get the liquid nitrogen, and he's gonna create a thermal bomb. And so, just 12-year-old me is experimenting, filling up plastic bottles with nitrogen, and then they explode, because they fill up with so much gas.
Of course.
Of course, as all 12-year-old children do. And so, after a while, I I I started to fill up these bottles like so much that because mostly what I was trying to do was like I'd put a hole in the side of the bottle and then I just try to get the cap to pop off. But then one time the cap, it didn't pop off, and instead like the whole bottle explodes outwards, and so shrapnels of this plastic water bottle goes everywhere. And there is a large scar on my leg now that goes straight up, and it, it's just a reminder of that one time that I decided to blow things up with nitrogen.
All right. You know what? And the fact is, I know that your dad is a responsible adult, responsible enough to teach his child how to make a thermal bomb. Uh, because your dad he has excellent supervision, but whenever he's there, it's almost like he's not there. And so you learn a lot of things that
it's
most
it's
12-year-olds didn't know.
it's funny because my dad, when he was young, did the exact same things.
Yeah,
Uh,
and I know your grandma has told many a story about how
mm-hmm.
they had to take the carpet out of your dad's room because of multiple fires whenever he was about 12 or 13 years old.
Oh yeah, like
So
he.
I really want to say that story is true because it's just over the top enough to be barely unbelievable. But I won't make my official guess until after I've heard your third and final story. But you have to hear my second one.
Mm-hmm.
Um, this one is called "Detained at the Air Force Base." This is recently. Uh, I was trying to find a popular fast food restaurant. I was told by my boss at the time that we had every single one of these restaurants in the area to go and do work on. So I thought, okay, I'm gonna go to the one in this town. And it didn't occur to me, but there was only one of this restaurant in this town. And I thought, it seems odd that we'd have one in this location because it was on the Air Force Base, and they don't typically let people in the Air Force Base unless you have a military ID. That's just procedure. So one day I'm driving and I decide, okay, well, I guess I'll try to clean it. And so I go up to the gate. I say, hey, we have all these locations. It's it looks like this is on our list. Can I come inside and clean this restaurant? And the first entrance did not let me in. So I thought, okay, I'm gonna be smart. I'm gonna go around to the other side and see if I can get in the other entrance. And young guy let me in. And once I got inside, I was actually surprised. I'd never been inside this place before, and it's just like a normal town. Looks just, I mean, it looks like a suburb of St. Louis. But it's a military base nonetheless. And so I get maybe 4 blocks in, and I see cherries pop up behind me and sirens. I'm like, oh no, I'm not wearing a very nice looking shirt. I'm in a very bad looking truck. And so my thought was, oh no, they probably just want to check who I am. And so the officer comes up, and in military garb, it's very odd. I see him get out of just a normal police car, and he's wearing, normal military uniform. And he's like, "Sir, do you have any weapons in the vehicle?" I'm like, oh no, shoot. And then I look to my side, and I have a box of blades. Um, and I thought to myself, it's not a weapon. These are like normal utility razor blades for what I was going to be doing there. And then it occurred to me I had another couple pocket knives, and I'm not a pocket knife guy. I just happened to have them in my truck at the time, and I just said, I do have weapons in the car. And so I told him, you're just going to want me to get out. And so I got out, and immediately he just said, go back, sit on the hood of my car. And he gets his flashlight out, and he gets a probe thing out, starts looking under the truck uh, to see if, I don't know, if I had a bomb or something.
Yeah.
Uh, yeah. Well, about 10 minutes later, I'm still sitting there, worried, fearing for my life. And he opens up the tailgate finally. And I had a topper on the truck, so you couldn't really see inside. But all you can see is a bunch of wires going to a big PVC tube. And I guess to a military police officer with a person that previously wouldn't have been allowed on the base, he sees a bunch of wires hooked up to this big tube, uh, and a couple of barrels in the back of my truck, and it doesn't look nice. It doesn't look good, because one might argue that that's a bomb. Within reason, too. It looked like a bomb. I didn't think about that. Well, he says, come here. And so I do. I walk up there, and he says, what's this? And I say, well, I'd have to pull it out to show you. And it weighs about 120 pounds, give or take, when it's full of water. And it was at the time. And he goes, no, no, no. And grabs the back of my jacket and pushes me into the side of my truck. And he goes, tell me what it does. And so I'm like, it filters the water for this, and it goes into the barrel. And then he made At this point, several other officers have pulled up behind me. No one's drawn a weapon yet. Then he pushed me back to his police car into the side of it. He hasn't put me inside yet. And he then proceeds to go up to this and starts taking a look at it. It doesn't look like it's rigged to blow or anything. There's no lights shining into it. And then calls me over and says, "Pull it out. I need to take a look at it." And then I start pulling it out, and he goes back and gets inside of his car and then backs away. So I pulled it out, show him there's nothing there. And it took me like 30 minutes to get it out because it's heavy and it's full of water. And so I set it down on the ground and I say, "This is what it is. This is what it does. You can find it on a YouTube page right here. It shows you exactly what it is. Barrel is full of water, blah, 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 this, that, and the other." And he goes, "Oh, okay. Well, have a great day. Yeah, the restaurant's right around the corner." And then backs up and leaves me alone. 45 minutes later, I have since worked at this restaurant. I've already finished up my work there. I had to put that thing back in my truck by myself, and that was crazy, stupid heavy. I get pulled over again on my way out. And I had to repeat the process, except this time I was detained during the process of pulling this out. Not for doing anything, it just was I acted to start pulling it out, getting it ready, and I said, "This was the officer before." And he goes, "Well, just sit on the hood of my car. You're going to be detained for a little while until we can sort this all out." And at that point, I just threw my hands up and I said, "I'm done. I'm not doing this again." But that is the story about how I got detained at the Air Force Base.
That's a story. And I feel like I've known you most of my life. I feel like if that story were to be true, I feel like you would have told me. Honestly, like that is a story that is worth telling to other people, like often. That
Well,
is,
yeah, like I said, it only happened. It could be true, could be false, but it only happened about 3 weeks ago.
3 weeks. Okay, that explains a lot of things right there. That explains, yeah.
Yeah, and we
Okay.
were in quarantine at that point, which is why they were more on edge because this place was dead on the inside. And I know not I've never been inside the base before this point, but I know that it's normally pretty busy. There's always stuff going on there, and it was empty. There wasn't another car on the road at this point.
Hmm.
Um, but yeah, that day was crazy. That day was crazy, and like I said, all of my stories have an element of truth in them. So you just have to figure out which one is the most true.
Hmm. All
So,
right.
what is your story number 3, Aiden?
Well, my third story is it's not quite as good as being, detained inside of the Air Force Base, perhaps. Um, but it is a little different. It's uh, another work related story. Um, Back when I first started my job, um, I I worked mostly front counter. I do drive through now. I used to do mostly front counter, and this group of three guys come in, two in suits, one in just regular normal attire. Um, and so uh, the two guys, they order their food, and then the third guy comes up and he orders his food, and I look at him. He's a fairly tall guy, just a little taller than me, and I look at him and I think, huh, that really looks like Andrew Garfield. Uh, I'm thinking, oh, that's totally like it looks like Andrew Garfield. And I like turn around to look at one of my coworkers. I'm like, dude, look, it's Andrew Garfield, man. And he's like, oh my gosh, it totally is. And so I like pull up a picture on my phone and I like look at him and I'm like, yeah, that's Andrew Garfield. What's even better about it is that whenever he typed in his name, or not when he typed it in, but whenever I asked for his name, rather, his name was actually Andrew. So it's Andrew, and he looks like Andrew Garfield. And I'm thinking to myself, am I taking the order for Andrew Garfield, that one guy who played Spider-Man? And I'm like, huh, that's really interesting. So this place we work at, it's a fairly simple menu, serves pretty simple things. One of the items on this menu is a chili. So we serve chili and we have like crackers and croutons we can give with the chili. So he orders a chili, and as I forgot to give the chili to him, and so I just have the chili in my hand, and it's in like a little cup, um, and this cup had a big crack going down the side, like a not like a crack, but like was kind of like worn. So it was not a stable cup. And so as I was giving him this cup of chili, the entire thing bursts open and squirts all over his shirt. So I'm thinking to myself, these two guys in suits, which basically look like secret service members, are gonna like mug me and like asked me to get fired or something. I was scared for my life. And that is the story about the time that I spilled chili all over Andrew Garfield.
Oh, okay. Oh, that's so hard. I couldn't even tell. Out of all your stories, this definitely was longer, and I can't tell if that's you telling the truth or not. Hmm. Oh, that's so hard. I'm gonna give my guess. Give me a little time to think about it. But I'm gonna tell about the time my sketchiest Craigslist meetup ever.
Ooh, oh.
Um, Now I'm not a normal go alone to a Craigslist meetup kind of guy. I am a little bit, but normally I try to notify someone else about where I'm at. So this time I uh, I was buying a scooter on Craigslist, and so I got on. I'm just looking through the classifieds one day. It's an afternoon. I already did what I had to do in the morning, and so I was like, oh, I have a whole day. And my family left. Um, so it's just me at the house. And I was like, well, I guess I had already had a couple scooters. I wanted to buy another one. Sue me. Um, so I got on and I see in South St. Louis uh, an ad for sale. It's like 2010 or not 2010. It's either like a 99 or 2000 Vespa. It's like,
Mm-hmm.
I have an addiction. I need to feed that addiction. And this looks like it might help me feed it. While I call the guy. The guy's like, yeah, you can come get it today. And I love how you can tell that it's a good ad whenever you got someone's thumb over the license plate. Uh, and so I saw that and I'm like, oh, great ad. And so I drive to South St. Louis. Bad idea by yourself. Bad. Not good. Uh, and I had to drive to a place and I get out, I see the door, and I knock on it. Guy comes out. He's like, yeah, I talked to you on the phone. the scooter is not here. I need you to follow me from here to another place to buy this scooter. But you can look at the pictures I have of it here. And I'm like, oh, I got time. It's the afternoon. I already got done everything I was supposed to do today. My family's not going to be home for a while. Uh, yeah, I'll just follow you to the next place. And so I do. And he took me back across the river into Illinois and took me to East St. Louis. Now I am more sketched out because East St. Louis is a much worse place. Not to dog against anyone who lives in East St. Louis. I just get sketched out when someone brings me to East St. Louis, but the situation gets worse from here. There's a metro station not far from there. And right next to this metro station is about 8 abandoned buildings. There's a lot of abandoned buildings there, but there's 8 of them. And he brings me down this really dark alley to like what V's off into like a parking garage entrance. And so I get inside there on the second level of this building. I'm still inside my car at this point, I should mention. The second level of this building, the scooter's parked. And it's empty. There's nothing else here except for like one car down on the end and the scooter. And the lights, like the only light in this building is what's coming out of my car. And I finally get to him. I am wearing a suit, I should mention, like a normal 2-piece button-up suit. I don't fit in well at all. There's no light in here. I get out. The guy hands me the key to the scooter. I said, "Hey, can I take it around the block?" And he said, "Sure, if you got a helmet." So I go back, I grab my helmet, I come back. The guy's sitting on the scooter. And I'm like, "What? Why is he sitting on the scooter?" And he goes, "Well, I got to sit on here. Just ride with me because I want to make sure you don't boost my scooter." I'm like, okay, little gay, all right. Um, but yeah, I get on. I go up to there's 2 stories on top of this parking garage. So I rode up there with him on the back of the scooter. Very weird. He was a significantly large man, and the scooter didn't fare well. But I finally got up to the top, went down to the bottom, realized I wasn't interested in the scooter because this guy was a little weird, and wanted to go home. So I go out of the parking garage, get back to the alley, and the guy's still inside. This is the only entrance and exit out of the building. I pull out, I'm coming out of the alley, and then a bus comes up and blocks the entrance. So I can't exit. And then the guy comes out and blocks me in. And I'm just sitting there. I sat there for about, I want to say 15 minutes in this little park space where I couldn't get out. And I was actually a little bit nervous that it was a setup, that I was going to get mugged or something here in the middle of East St. Louis while I'm blocked in this alley from a guy that I wanted to buy this Vespa from. But it didn't turn out that way, and I lived. It just was really awkward. The guy got back out. He's like, "Yeah, you sure you don't want to buy this thing? If you had the scooter, you could like totally get out of this alley." Yeah, I could. That would have been nice. Wouldn't have been stuck here, awkward with the person that I just denied a sale. Yeah, that was my sketchiest Craigslist meetup ever.
So I gotta ask a question here. How long ago was this? Was this like relatively like soon, or was this like weeks ago?
That happened 2017,
Whew.
a
Okay.
while ago. I was a lot younger then.
Then you are, yeah, okay. 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 All right.
Which
Interesting.
story do you think is fake?
Story do I think is fake? Um, Let me think. So you had the detained in the Air Force Base. You had a I I think detained in the Air Force Base. I think that one's true. I
Okay,
definitely
that is true.
that is
But
true.
the other
Okay.
two stories are also true. I botched some of the elements of the stories. So which one do you think was the most false?
Um, I think your sketchy Craigslist deal with was more true, honestly.
Okay, it was actually two different meetups that I was describing. So all
Really?
of those
Okay.
things did happen, just in different occasions. I really did meet someone in East St. Louis, follow them to a parking garage, and have him ride on the back of the scooter. The other time I got blocked in an alley, it was in South St. Louis, um, also trying to buy a Vespa, different occasion. But I really thought I was getting mugged that time. Uh, but yeah,
That's scary. That's actually scary.
yeah, no, like there's a weird like thought. There's a thought process, and I've come across it a couple of times, not just from doing Craigslist meetups, but I've been a delivery driver before, and that was always sketchy. But there's like this certain thought when you're trapped and you're like, okay, how am I gonna get out? You always have like that like backtracking in your mind, like, okay, if something goes south, here's how I'm gonna leave. And there's like that moment when you realize you can't leave, you can't get out of this circumstance, and you're just trapped there, and you're waiting for a guy with a gun to come up and shoot you.
Yeah, that's scary. That's awful, man.
Yeah, uh, but yeah, those actually happened. The burn my eyebrows off story actually happened. Um,
I do remember that to a degree. I do remember you telling me about that.
Picture day was not the next day.
It wasn't. Okay.
No, but it was relatively soon after, and I looked like bald, balding, or like cancer patient, kind of. Like my ears are scarred. Um, I have no eyebrows, and most of the hair on the front of my head is burned down, like is singed. There's like that smell. Burning
It's
hair smells so bad.
Oh yeah,
It
absolutely.
smelled like that for like 3 weeks. It just
Oh
didn't go away.
gosh.
And
That's
finally my
hilarious.
hair grew back out and stuff. But yeah. Uh
Alrighty.
with your stories.
Yes, which ones do you think are true and which ones do you think are false? Or which one do you think is true and which ones do you think are false?
You know what? It's sad to say. It seems like the most unrealistic, but I'm gonna go for a reach here. I think that the liquid nitrogen story, the thermal bomb story, is true.
That is that's false.
It's false. Okay,
That's
I knew it
false.
was a reach. Okay, what was the
Mhm.
true story?
The true story was me spilling chili all over Andrew Garfield. I
Okay.
did I did actually do that. I did. Yeah.
You know what? That's like arguably more unrealistic than the thermal bomb story. Because
Yeah.
that's like a once in a lifetime thing to meet Andrew Garfield, at least here where we live in St. Louis. But like to spill chili on Andrew Garfield, that's even worse.
Oh, it's
But
terrible. Yeah.
oh yeah, it,
Um.
it's epic though.
Uh. My my first story with the guy holding up the line for 15 minutes. That parts of that were true. Um. For starters, it was actually it was more like towards the end of the day. So it was after everybody was already there. There was no line, so I wasn't particularly like whatever. It's fine. It's just an old 95-year-old geezer who's like trying to hold me up, and um he was talking about oh my gosh, he was like losing his mind. Um, so that was partially true. The nitrogen one, also parts of it were true. It wasn't nitrogen because um nitrogen is
Reasons, you know.
nitrogen is really expensive. uh, secondly, I wasn't 12. I was like 14. So I was a lot more conscious with what I was doing. I knew that I was blowing things up. Um, and also I don't have a scar on my leg. That's something I don't have. So
Okay, I never see your legs. And I know you're wearing shorts right now.
yeah, I
I
don't.
mean, not that like guys notice each other's legs, but
Right? Oh my
yeah,
gosh. Oh man. So good. Yeah, that was a fun game. That was a really
it
fun
was a
game.
fun game, and I hope that the listeners get to know us a little bit better. They can tell when we're lying because we do that a lot. I promise you guys, I will lie to you, but it's only for your own good.
Oh my gosh, dude.
uh,
Uh
it's fun,
man.
you know.
I I what were you gonna say? I didn't want to cut you off.
I was just gonna like talk about how we've kind of been passing the time a little bit since this all started. Because you're not working right now, right?
No,
Okay.
no.
Yeah, I just officially lost my job last week. Um, so I have more time to do junk like this. But yeah, it's kind of given me this kind of throwback feeling right now. It's kind of weird because I haven't had this much free time since I was in school. Uh, and it's super weird. What about you? What do you think?
Uh, I mean, I recently had like a lot of free time before I started. Not recently, like a while back. There was a lot more free time in my life. So it feels like I'm just going back to that. I feel like once I do get into the mix of going back to work, I'm going to slow down so much. I'm just gonna like collapse and it's all gonna end and I'm just gonna be like, no, I just don't want to. um no, it's having all this free time, it's rough. You just gotta find stuff to do again, like crap like this.
Yeah. Yeah, no, like I since we've had so much time, I uh I really don't know what to do with myself. And I started thinking back to my school days. Did anyone actually pay attention in school?
I know, right? Like, okay, so I did public school like most of my life, and then I switched over to homeschooling much later. Um, but like I don't remember anything from school. I don't remember anything. I just like there was so much that I just didn't care about. I was like, what's the point right now?
Yeah, like I cannot remember. And I've only been graduated now for going on 4-ish years.
Mm-hmm.
Or well, no, maybe more like 5. I don't know. Anyway, um, yeah, like I don't remember anything from my time in public school, and we did half and half. So I did first to sixth in public school and sixth onward in homeschooling. But I just like started thinking back and listening to other people and asking them, like, do you remember school at all? Like, remember sitting in the classroom and actually paying attention? And even like well-studied people, I was shocked at the answer. Like they finished school with a 4.0 GPA and they're like, "Yeah, no, I don't remember anything either. I just did really well at homework." Oh, okay. Yeah, I guess everyone kind of learns in their own way.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, like I specifically remember like a lot of my teachers, they'd always like be like the worst teachers, and they'd have like the worst teaching methods, and you'd be like, I have no idea what's going on right now. Like I'm listening, it's going in one ear, it's coming out the other. There's like some random numbers or something in there, and it's just like, if they're like trying to teach me algebra, and I'm just like, all right. So the mitochondria is the powerhouse of the cell, right? And it's just like, it's just like, it's not working. It doesn't work. I don't remember anything from school.
Yeah. No, like, and I remember, so I finished high school, which I was homeschooled for, and I went to college. And my college classes were so much better than any teaching experience I had in my past because I learned how to listen to lectures ahead of time with uh with my high school because it was video lectures and online tests. And some people
Hmm.
might argue that, oh, that's so much easier. Well, in college, you don't have this massive amount of classroom time. It's literally just lectures for a couple hours. You intermittently take pictures of the board, and then you go back and you do all your own homework. And then in class, on occasion, you do a test. Great. I was only in college for 1 year and didn't flunk out, but yeah. Um, it was so much easier because I learned how to look at lectures and I started thinking, well, looking back, does anything actually promote listening to your teachers except for your parents?
Well, honestly, like with college, of course, college is something that whatever you're taking it more so you can like you can go into a certain career or of some particular
Yeah,
sort. So whenever you're doing it to do something you want to do with your life, it definitely it definitely makes it a lot different because you're actually learning something you want to learn as opposed to learning some random, crap from
yeah,
your
not like
teacher.
basic education.
Yeah.
Yeah, I started thinking about the media scene for your grade school and for high school.
Hmm.
And whenever you think about TV shows and other things that promote a lifestyle outside of school, um, it seems like even the characters on the show tend to just avoid doing well in school, and then just by the end of the season, they're doing really well, or they're doing this. And I'm only noticing this now, of course, because well, I'm at home a lot and now watch a lot of TV. Yeah, so whenever you think about shows that are based around college, what's kind of the primary focus of the TV show?
It's like, it really depends, kind of. It's like the primary focus is legitimately just doing anything besides like living a college life and just just like don't go to school. That's not something you do in college. Don't worry about that. Just like goof off and have fun.
Yeah,
It's super. It's one of those things.
but then everyone says, "All right, crunch time. Finals are due this week, and we can't go out and party like ever." But I went to a tech school anyway, so you could loosely call it college, and everyone was like focused. It was kind of awesome because no one was like, well, high school. I know for you at least, you've described stories about people selling drugs and stuff like that. And you'd expect college to be 10 times worse, and it didn't keep people from doing them, but it was easier to stay on track in college, I think. But
Yeah,
yeah,
there is some like weird stories I've had of like me being at school and like walking. You know how in like uh in high school, I guess you wouldn't know this. You were homeschooled. In high school, there is there's always one shady bathroom. There's always one shady bathroom. That shady bathroom is the bathroom you never want to go into, because if you go into that bathroom, you're either going to like get mugged or you're gonna get high from like all the smoke that's in the air. Um, and I just have so many stories like that where I'm like, there's just some like yikes moments. Just like, yeah, no, the yikes. I should have done that during the stories.
dude, next time we do it, I want to hear some stories. Either
Oh my
next month
gosh.
or whenever we
I
get back to that.
I've got some. I've got some. Yeah.
Uh, dude, you know how messed up our childhood TV shows were?
Yeah. Yeah, right? I mean like, okay, I just thought about this like the other day. Like I thought about Tom and Jerry. I don't know if you've watched Tom and Jerry
Oh
recently.
yeah, everybody
Literally
has.
that show is like mostly animal brutality.
It is.
Like mostly like
No, like I was watching some TV shows and it's like the whole thing must have been someone's acid trip. Uh and I'll do this without mentioning a name, but it was on Cartoon Network. And I started watching this and I'm like I don't even understand what was going on. It's like the animators picked keywords of things that children are interested in and just made a show out of those like key phrases and key words. I was so confused. I'm like, what is going on? And then there's these memes in there that I it made it hilarious. Like, don't get me wrong. It was so funny. Not expected. But yeah, I wanted to understand the animator's mentality whilst making this this show.
it's like they like copy pasted a bunch of things from other TV shows and just kind of like compiled it all together. And I'm like, yeah, okay, this will work. Children will be invested in a show of this caliber.
Yeah. It's like someone went into Blender, took a bunch of random 3D models like that they just got on like Pond 5 or something like that and just set a rig that just totally didn't make sense and defy levels of physics, all sorts of other junk like that. But anyway, it was great. It was
Yeah,
great.
right.
Speaking about shows that aren't great, uh, it's gonna be May the 4th. Uh, it's gonna be Star Wars Day here soon.
Yeah, yeah, it is gonna be Star Wars Day here soon. I it's one of those things where it's like you don't you don't think about it until it's May. Once it's May, it's like, oh yeah, that's something that's totally coming up now.
Yeah, like oh yeah, shoot, that's a holiday. I forgot.
Yeah,
May
right.
May
Oh
the
my
4th
gosh.
be with you, and it's gonna be an interesting Star Wars Day since we're all gonna be stuck at home. Uh, I know a theater by where I live regularly hosts a an event where they will screen. Normally they do the trilogy just back to back to back, um,
Mhm.
and this year they can't do that, so I'm gonna have to watch stuff at home. Uh, I'm not gonna watch the new movies because they're garbage. I don't care who you are; they are not better than the original trilogy. I mean, I think you would agree with that.
I so agree.
Okay. Yeah, so I'm gonna be sitting at home on May the 4th, on Monday, binge watching all the Star Wars movies because that's healthy for normal adult life.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Yeah. That that is something that's definitely healthy now. It's just you sit down and you like watch movies.
Yeah.
You know? I just want to like I watched like all of I hadn't watched it like this season, Brooklyn Nine-Nine, uh a cop show, and it's like a funny comedy show about cops, and I watched like the whole season from start to end like yesterday because I was just so bored. I'm like, I have nothing to do right now, and I am unbelievably bored. I need something to do, so I just binge watch TV.
Exactly. There's like and we're before that was not healthy to do. That was like
Before, exactly. Oh my gosh.
it was like,
Like,
oh, you're a sinner. You watch 5 hours of TV today? Do something productive with your life. Go to work, get a job or something. And now it's like, yeah, you're doing your duty as a civilian.
yeah,
Just
right.
stay at home.
Congratulations, you're staying at home. Here's like your Medal of Honor or
Yeah.
something.
I canceled my trip for the summertime here. So now I take regular trips, little trips through the whole day, where I call it a micro trip whenever I'm on my phone, and I get out of Snapchat and I go over to Instagram, and then a major trip is whenever I get out of bed in the morning and go to my closet and put on new pajamas and get back into bed.
Oh my gosh. That's too real. It's too real.
uh, yeah,
Yeah. Go on like a Netflix trip.
yeah, man. Well, I mean, speaking of streaming services, have you watched The Mandalorian on Disney?
I have. It was fantastic. It was a fantastic show.
I enjoyed it.
It
It
was
it
very
didn't get
enjoyable.
sketch. I'm still a little bit weirded out about the origins of Baby Yoda. I want to find out. Um,
I do too.
and I'm
I
gonna be
really
angry when they give him a name. It's not Baby Yoda.
well, they did give him a name. They did give him a name. Like Disney like released a name for like Baby Yoda. I don't remember it off the top of my head, but like they were like, "Oh, this is his name," and I'm like, "I'm not calling him that," and neither is the other millions of people that have watched this show. Nobody's calling that baby, whatever its actual name is. It is Baby Yoda. That is like what the merchandise says. All right, there
Yeah,
is no going back on that.
they're gonna rebrand it. They're gonna change the whole origin of the Star Wars universe, and they instead of like figuring out where Yoda's people come from, they're just gonna yeet him back in time, and that's actually gonna be Yoda.
Oh my gosh, just like throw him through a wormhole. They like go into a black hole, and then turns out that the Mandalorian was the one that started the whole like Star Wars like thing. He was the beginning, and like Baby Yoda's like actual Yoda, and it's all a load of lies.
Yeah, I mean that's the only way they can make it work.
Oh my
Maybe.
gosh. Yeah, funny stuff.
Well, this was a lot of fun. Uh,
This was a lot of fun.
we we found out that we're both really terrible liars because we couldn't even come up with like a whole story that was completely
Oh
false. Uh,
my gosh, right?
yeah,
Yeah.
but first official podcast done. We're gonna be trying to make these for every Monday, so we're gonna be filming them on Friday, putting them out on YouTube on Monday. Um,
Mhm.
subscribe to our channel. Uh, Not Hipster, Not Classic. It's at Not Hipster Not Classic on YouTube, Not Hipster Not Classic on Instagram. Once again, my name is Cole, and this is
My name is Aiden.
the mayor of Flavortown himself. Uh, yeah, tune in for hopefully better content because this one was really bad, and we promise to do better next time.
Yeah, it was a little shaky this time, but we'll get it figured out. It'll go a lot better next time.
All right, peace.
Peace out, everybody. I'm a sweaty mess. Let's do this.